Strip clubs, gentlemen's clubs, a provider of adult entertainment, where exotic and erotic dances can be seen. But what if you became someone else's entertainment? Grab a blanket, turn off your lights for 3 horror stories that happened at the strip club. The regular customer. This happened a couple years ago, back when I was a dancer at a gentleman's club in Virginia. It was the most upscale place in the city, but it still more or less catered to a regular clientele. There was a man named George who used to come in to see me a couple times a week. He'd buy dances and VIP rooms and always tip me really well while saying things like, "I can't believe you don't have a boyfriend," and "When are you gonna let me take you out to dinner?" The thing is, I did have a boyfriend. However, much like my real name, my personal life is not anyone's business, and strip clubs are a fantasy environment. If these men knew that I had a boyfriend and a life outside of dancing for them, I probably wouldn't have made as much money as I did. One night, I was getting dressed to leave, and I was excited to get home, as my boyfriend had just come back from the tour he was on. He was in a band, and was waiting for me at home. The club closed at 2 a.m., so I was usually walking out of the door and to my car around 2:30 a.m. Usually, we have a bouncer walk us out, but since it was a slow night, we only had one bouncer still on the clock, and he was off doing something. I was in a hurry, so I just ran to my car alone. As soon as I started my car and turned out of the parking lot, another car turned its light on and pulled out behind me. I didn't think too much of it and continued on my way home until I realized that every turn that I made, the car also made. He followed me onto the highway and then onto my exit. My boyfriend and I lived on the outskirts of the city in a heavily wooded area where houses are pretty few and far between. So as soon as the car took the same exit onto the gravel road that leads to the area my house is in, I called my boyfriend. Now, my boyfriend at the time was a really big guy, and he had a really bad temper. As soon as I pulled into our driveway, with the other car still behind me, he ran out from behind his tour van with a baseball bat and 2 of our dogs following close behind. He had told me to stay in my car, so I was trying to see who was following me without actually getting out, and, of course, it was George. My boyfriend managed to hit the hood of his car with a bat before George could reverse down the gravel road and disappear. I was scared because he knew where I lived now, but my boyfriend assured me that there was nothing to worry about anymore, and he had most likely adequately deterred George from ever coming back. I mean, I guess a huge tattooed guy with a baseball bat and 2 giant pit bulls is a pretty good deterrent. I told the manager at work about the incident the next day, and they banned George from the club. A couple months later, he had tried to come in, but the bouncers had stopped him, and his only explanation was, "I thought she didn't have a boyfriend." Saved by a stripper. Back when I was 13, I spent the weekend with my friend. Her mother was single and didn't feel comfortable with leaving us in the home alone while she worked, and so she decided to take us to her work. I should mention that she worked in a dive bar filled with drunks, druggies, and strippers. Her mom worked behind the bar, fully clothed, thankfully. I didn't think much of it. Her mom honestly scared me, so I figured she'd probably scare off any unwanted attention. However, she got called away to get more cans of beer to restock the fridge with. My friend and I were sitting at a table near the bar, where we would be in full view of her mother, except she was gone. My friend went to the bathroom, leaving me by myself. I should mention, during my teen years, I looked a lot older than I was. Thankfully, that has stopped. So I was a well-developed 13-year-old girl who probably looked to be more 16 to 18. As I sat by myself, this older man comes by and starts talking to me. Started out with a charming line, "So, when are you gonna get up there and strip?" I told him I didn't work there. I was also horrified that to him I must have looked like a stripper. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, nothing showy about it. He sat down in my friend's spot, ignoring my protest that it was my friend's seat and that she would be back soon. He became more vulgar, and I stood up to walk away. He got up with me and grabbed my arm, trying to walk me out to the back. Before I could yell for help, he tightened his grip on my arm and threatened me, saying that it would be easier if I just went along with him. At this point, one of the strippers who knew who I was yelled out, calling him out and grabbing my other arm. She told me to sit back at my spot and dragged him out of the bar for the security to deal with. I was in tears when my friend and her mom got back. I told them what had happened, and the mother took us both home. After that, she wouldn't allow weekend sleepovers while she was working. The man was reported. Honestly, we would have been safer home alone. Creepy couple at the strip club. Some background. I'm a girl. I've just graduated from university and am 22. This happened back when I was 19. When my parents got older and my siblings and I were out of the house, they headed to Florida. My sister, 24 at the time, has a genetic respiratory illness that requires her to live in warm weather, so she doesn't catch colds and get sick in the cold. As you may know, there isn't a great selection of young, educated people in Florida. Most young people are trashy, racist, sexist, etc. Most, not all, so don't mean to be offensive. But that's the impression I have gotten there. Anyways, my sister had to live in Florida near my parents, and had a limited pool to which to select a significant other. So she started dating this really creepy guy who had previously been in jail for a white-collar crime. I hated this guy so much. He was pompous, annoying, and drank too much. Well, I was home for the summer and bored out of my skull. I was going through a period of depression and spent most of my time in my room or on Reddit or watching Netflix, never wanting to go outside. One day, my sister and her significant other said I needed to get out of the house and invited me to go for afternoon drinks at a local outdoor bar. I relented and went with them. I had a couple of drinks, and being only 5'6" and about 115 pounds at the time, I was a small girl who got tipsy easily. My sister's significant other moved us to the next bar, driving while drinking out of a flask, so unsafe and so not uncommon in Florida, let me tell you. And we kept drinking. Like I said, I was depressed, and the alcohol made me feel a bit better. I only drank about once or twice a month, socially, so I wasn't used to drinking this much. I was having a decent time, though. All of a sudden, it's like 10 p.m. and we've been drinking since 3. I think I'd maybe had 4 or 5 drinks, but over several hours, so I was not sober, but not falling down drunk either. This is important later, I promise. Bartenders were just handing me the drinks and not carding me because I was with 2 older people and I guess they assumed I must have been over 21, or they just didn't care. My sister's significant other announces that he's taking us to Rachel's, the upscale steakhouse / strip club. Normally, I would never set foot in a strip club. It just doesn't appeal to me, and I feel badly for the way the patrons treat a lot of the women who work there. But I was 5 drinks deep, and so was my sister, so we said, okay, whatever, let's go. Inside, we order another drink. This is where the couple comes in. A woman sits next to me and tells me I'm stunningly beautiful, I thank her and we chat. She tells me she's here with her husband and some other stuff about herself that I forgot. Being tipsy, I'm in a friendly mood, so I introduce her to my sister and we all start chatting. But this woman seems oddly focused on me. She's polite to my sister, but mostly trying to strike up a conversation with me. Finally, she offers to buy me a drink, and I stupidly accept, thinking, oh, she's a woman, she's trustworthy. Stupid sexist logic. Her husband has come over by this point. She gets me the drink, and I start merrily sipping away. She asks me what I'm doing later and encourages me to come to her house and hang out with her husband and her, since apparently we're all best buddies now. I said maybe, but at this point, even drunk me was getting a little creeped out. I mean, this woman had to be about 30 and her husband 35? Why did they want to hang out with me? And besides, I was with my sister and not about to leave. Next thing I remember, I'm in front of the strip club, throwing up and twitching. My sister and her significant other take me into the car, where I'm acting way more drunk than I should be, as well as extremely paranoid. I'm suddenly convinced that they're kidnapping me. They told me while I was talking to the couple, they had gone over to get drinks and saw me head for the bathroom. I didn't come out for a while, and so my sister went in and found that I was passed out in a stall half-dressed. Note, I had not drunk enough to pass out. I had about 6 drinks, but over 7 hours or so. She got me up, and a stripper actually came in and kindly brought me water. I don't remember this at all. Then they had to slowly walk me outside, where I came to and was throwing up. When I got home, my dad woke up and freaked out, accusing my sister of doing drugs with me. She doesn't even do them alone, and took me to the hospital. At the hospital, they only did a very basic test and found none of the common drugs in my blood. But they did not test for date rape drug, which is what I believe I had been given. Luckily, I hadn't finished the drink because I'd gone to the bathroom, but even what I drank must have been pretty potent. I went to my family doctor the next day, and she said the hospital wouldn't have run extensive tests because nothing had happened to me, and I was going to be okay. One thing that is weird though, is that my blood sugar was incredibly low when they tested me upon arrival to the hospital, like crazy low. This made no sense, because I had been drinking sugary beverages all night. I don't know what happened to the couple. My sister said they disappeared, and no, they didn't follow me into the bathroom. So yeah, let's not meet. Weirdo strip club couple. X.